What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Double Dragon Gaming. So the Nintendo Switch 2 came out about a year ago on June 5th, 2025. It's now June 10th, 2026. I'm a few days late, but I did want to talk to you guys about the Switch 2 and how I feel about it. I've always loved doing like tech toy reviews and tech toy stuff on the channel. And when the Switch 2 came out, I didn't get it right away. I didn't actually get it for quite a while. And I always kind of kicked myself for that I didn't get a chance to talk about it. It's the 1-year anniversary of the Switch 2 a few days ago. And we're going to talk about the Nintendo Switch 2. But before I do that, if you're liking the video, if you get anything out of this or my channel at all, please like the video. It really helps out. And subscribe to the channel and turn the bell on. Then you'll be notified as soon as I drop videos. And it really helps me out big time. So I want to do a quick flex. I like to flex a little bit sometimes on my love for portable consoles. I have a whole bunch of them, so I just want to show you what I got. So we'll start with the ROG Ally, the original ROG Ally. So this is my ROG Ally, my girlfriend's ROG Ally. We got 2 ROG Allies in the house. Also have the Lenovo Legion Go, the original, the OG Legion Go. Not sure when that came out, a few years ago. Gotta mention my PSV, one of my favorite portable consoles I got for Christmas a few years ago from my girlfriend. She got this for me. Thank you so much, sweets. Love you the most. Then there's the original Switch. I got the OLED version, but this is my boy Brian's now. I gave this to him for his birthday. And then spoiler alert, my favorite of them all, the Nintendo Switch 2. And we got the D brand kill switch case for the Switch 2. And it's awesome. I would highly recommend the D brand kill switch case. If you have a Switch 2, not that they sponsor me or anything, just really like the product. You know, it comes with the hard shell case, which you can put the games in. So this thing is solid. The one gripe I've always had with the Switch is that it's just hard to hold, regardless of how big your hands are or small. It's just an awkward thing to hold on to. So, you know, it's got these grips on it and stuff. Anyway, enough about that. So when the Switch 2 first came out, or when it was about to come out, I had one pre-ordered. At least I thought I did on the Nintendo website, but I guess I was just in line to receive one when they became available. The night pre-orders went live, I tried to get one through various different websites and apps and stuff, Walmart, Target. I tried for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes and kept having trouble checking out, and I just got frustrated and said, fuck it, you know what, I don't need this thing right now, and I gave up. And I honestly can't remember when exactly I did get the Switch 2. I think it was this year. Yeah, it was this year, probably February or March. I finally just bit the bullet and got it. I just really wanted it. There were no exclusive games that I was like, oh, I gotta have this thing for, you know, Donkey Kong, or I gotta have this thing for the new Metroid game that came out. Metroid Prime 4, was it? None of those games really, like, even Mario Kart World, I was just like, whatever. So nothing really called to me. I wasn't feeling this need to have it for any of those games. I just wanted it because it was a more up-to-date system, really for my Switch 1 games, because it's backwards compatible with pretty much all of them. So that was the whole idea. I just want the system. And then whatever Switch 2 games come out, I'll get them. But I just really wanted a more up-to-date Switch. You know, with the way my life is, I do a lot of portable gaming. That's why I have so many. I love to play, you know, sitting in front of my computer or my console or whatever, my arcade cabinet, and play like that. But oftentimes when I'm on the go or, you know, around the house, depending on what the situation is, I like to be able to play with the thing right in front of me, you know? These systems, the ROG Ally and the Lenovo Legion Go, I love them and I hate them. And I always have, and they've always been giving me a hard time. So I just want to quickly speak on these. So the OG ROG Ally, the OG Lenovo Legion Go, they work sometimes, and then a lot of times they don't work. I've had so many issues with these fucking things, and they're just underpowered for modern day gaming. They can run games from like the 2015 to 2020 period of time, you know, some older games, they can run fairly well. But newer games like Diablo 4, for example, this thing struggles to run it. It always has, even now with the update of optimized handheld mode, it still really struggles. And I got the ROG Ally from my girlfriend for that very reason, so we could both play Diablo 4 together. And most of the time she can't fucking play, the game's lagging or it's crashing or she has to download some shit or whatever, and we never know what it is. Is it the system can't run it? Is it struggling because of that? Is it our internet connection? It's just been so frustrating. She's played it a lot through the ROG Ally when it does work, but a lot of times it's just been a struggle and really frustrating experience for her, and I feel so bad because that's why I bought that thing for her, so she could play Diablo 4. Modern day games, it can almost do it, but these first gen ROG Ally, Lenovo Legion Go's, they really struggle to do that. Call of Duty, it could play Call of Duty. Forza Motorsport, Forza Horizon, it was able to play pretty well. I'm not going to go into that too much, but let's just say that these first gen handheld computers that can game, they're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Maybe the newer ones, the ROG Ally X or the Xbox ROG Ally, they have a little bit more power and RAM and stuff, and they can do it. But ultimately, I want a portable handheld system that I can use, that I don't have to wait forever. I don't have to do all this crap I have to constantly struggle with. That's why I got the Switch 2, because I was just so fed up with these fucking things. I love it. It's great, but it also sucks. Ultimately, what I wanted at the end of the day was, first of all, a bigger screen than this. For the ROG Ally, it's just not big enough. You would think it is, but even though it's the same size, I believe, as the Switch OLED, it's just for like a Diablo game or something like that. Certain games, the screen is just still too small. And while the Switch 2 screen isn't like huge compared to this, it is bigger. And that little bit of extra size makes a difference. The Lenovo Legion Go's got a huge screen, so I'm probably gonna keep that. But I'm gonna sell this fucking thing. This is going. My girlfriend's ROG Ally is going. I'm probably gonna keep the Lenovo Legion Go, but that thing just keeps shutting off on me now. All of a sudden, it just turns off for no reason. I think it's a overheating issue. Anyway, to circle back to my original point here, I want a handheld console that just fucking works, and that works well, and especially with like being able to jump back into games. So I know the newer ROG Ally, the newer Lenovo Legion Go, the MSI Claw, they have these features now where you can just press the power button or whatever and go into sleep mode and then jump back into most games. These first gen systems don't do that. They can't do that. So, it's always been a struggle, right? I gotta boot the thing up, go through the whole loading into Windows, finally get into Windows, and it's pretty quick, but not lightning fast. And then you gotta, load your game, boot up the Steam or whatever, load your game. Sometimes you need a fucking update, so most of the time I gotta update the thing. By the time I get into the game and start playing, if I just want to play for like 10-20 minutes, it's just too much of a hassle, man. And then I gotta shut the whole thing off. I can't or I gotta leave it on so I can play. So the Switch 2 has been amazing for that purpose, right? I can just put it into sleep mode and jump right back in. And the Switch one was great for that too. For most games, just hit the sleep button and she goes to sleep, and then I can pop right back in within seconds. I'm back in my game and playing. Hours later, I can just hop right back in and just pick up from where I left off. So that was like one of the biggest things compared to those other systems. Is just the sleep mode works so well like it did with the Switch, that you can just get right back into a game. And the other thing of it being just a console experience, and the thing just fucking works. And that's why people love the Steam Deck so much as well, because it's more of a console type experience. It's a console handheld with an operating system that was designed for it, whereas they're trying to make Windows work for these things, and it just it never worked great. It did work, but for me it was always too much of a hassle. Spoiler alert, right here and right now, this is my favorite handheld aside from my Vita. This is peak handheld gaming. This system is, in my opinion, amazing for the handheld experience, amazing for the console experience. Nintendo they're just awesome. They're not perfect, and there's a whole lot of other things we can go into regarding Nintendo and the pricing of things, but at the end of the day, I am really glad that I got this thing. This is my primary way of how I game now. This is it. I mean, I have other ways to do it, but when I want to play a game, more often than not, this is how I want to do it with the Switch 2. Sorry, this video is going to be all over the place. I'm just improvising wherever my mind goes. That's where we're going. So it's not perfect. I'm not going to say it's perfect first off the screen. So it's not an OLED screen, it's an LCD screen, and I like the size. Love the size, actually. It's a really good size for a handheld screen. It's big and it's really nice, and I put like this anti-glare. I do this for most of my mobile devices, my laptop. The only thing that doesn't have an anti-glare on it is my tablet. My phone does, for playing like outside and stuff like that, you know, or anything where there's going to be a lot of sunlight, like, you know, when I'm in my car or my truck or whatever, the anti-glare comes in clutch. Definitely highly recommend that if you're going to be doing like gaming in your car, or, you know, there's a lot of like sunlight exposure or whatever. Can't go wrong with the anti-glare. So the screen is fantastic for its size. The anti-glare helps tremendously, but the whole thing with this fucker was it's not OLED, but it is 120 hertz, which is a big improvement. I like the screen. It's a good screen. The 120 hertz is excellent. The size of it's excellent, but it needs to be OLED. This fucking thing needs to be OLED. When I go from my Switch 1 OLED experience to this, it's like night and day. Not so much does it matter when you're like in your house and it's like, you know, evening, or the lights are off, or, you know, it's not super bright, no problem. But trying to play a game like Resident Evil Biohazard, where there's a lot of dark scenes and a lot of dark moments, you need the OLED experience, especially when you're in your car, in your truck, by a window, and it's very bright out. That OLED makes all the difference. You'll be able to see so much better compared to this archaic LCD technology, man. This backlit bullshit. You need OLED. This system needed that. It really would have put this thing over the top to have OLED, and the fact that it doesn't is really unfortunate, and we all know why, because the next Switch 2 version is going to have OLED, and we're hoping, at least I'm hoping, that the bezels will be completely gone, or almost entirely gone, and they will use the entire front face of this system and use the entirety of all of its real estate. That would be awesome. That would be really cool. So like a Switch 2 Pro, where it maximizes the size of the screen, like all the real estate here, and then OLED with the 120 hertz. I know that's the problem, at least I believe, like the 120 hertz as an OLED system is like crazy expensive for that part of the system, for the screen or whatever. So like that's something they got to figure out. But, you know, it's really, for a handheld system, it's just so needed. Like playing Resident Evil Biohazard in my truck on my break, and the sun's out, like you can't do it. You just can't. Certain games you can get away with playing. A Street Fighter I can play, and some other things, but you need that OLED screen on a system like this. That will really push this thing over the top. You know, the battery is okay, it's not fantastic, but then again, you know, with these modern day games, it's really asking a lot. You know, it's really drawing a lot of power, so it's understandable the battery life that you're getting out of it. And there's things that you can do, turning the brightness down. Certain games really don't draw very much power, you know, Switch 1 games or whatever. But when you play Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, the Switch 2 version, you're gonna kill that battery in a couple hours, you know, which is still an improvement over those older ROG Ally and Lenovo Legion Go systems. Those things are just terrible with the battery, man. Unless you're playing some emulator games or something that doesn't draw a whole lot of power, and you got the right power mode going, you're gonna just crush that battery fast. My other complaint with the system is what it's always been, really, and it's that this right thumbstick is positioned so low that it's just not comfortable. No matter how I try to play, I just can't. It just doesn't feel good, man. And the reason for that is so that you can, you know, pop this fucker off and use it as a controller. That's why they do it this way. You have to do it this way. Essentially getting two controllers with your system is a clever idea. It really is. It was with the Switch. It is with the Switch 2. It's great. But it sucks when you try to play it like this in handheld mode. I hate it. This thumbstick needs to be up here. But that wouldn't work then for the controller, using this Joy-Con as a little controller or whatever. Who the hell does that? Really, how many people are really using it that way? Except for the kids or whatever. I don't know. Hate it. I really wish that they would change that, you know, but it is what it is. Just feels like a really well put together system. The weight of it, the finish on it, it's just so nice. Like the snap-on magnetic Joy-Cons, it's just a very well made device, and it feels like a quality device. And I almost didn't want to put the case on just because I like the sleekness of it with nothing on it. But, you know, for me to play it in handheld, I need that, you know, I need the case, and for protection. So there's been a lot of complaints about this across the board. Biggest complaint from people has been the exclusive games, and honestly, personally, for me, I see that point of it, but it's not really. I don't really care too much. A lot of the games I'm just not really interested in. At this, I'm 45 years old. I don't really want to play Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm just, for the kids, sure, but there's been a lot of exclusive games: Beyond the Dark, Night Watch, Card and Casino for Switch 2, Dragon Drive, Fast Fusion, Fire Emblem, Fortune's Weave, Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment, Kirby Air Riders, obviously Mario Kart World, which people have really complained about and just got bored of very quickly. And so I'm gonna stick with Mario Kart 8. That satiates my need for some Mario Kart. Mario Tennis Fever was a pretty big hit for them. Not interested in that either, but I think that game did very well. There's a lot of Switch 2 exclusive games, but not a ton of them. Every video game released exclusively on Switch 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 27. It's saying 27 Switch 2 exclusives, but it's got Star Fox listed here. And that's not coming out to the 25th of June. But definitely looking forward to Star Fox. That looks awesome. The big ones: Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment, Fire Emblem, Kirby Air Riders, Mario Kart, the Donkey Kong game, the Switch 2 version of Tears of the Kingdom, Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, that's out. Yeah, so, they've got a decent lineup to start. Maybe not like the best or whatever, but plenty of games. So, I see people's point in that, but like, no, not really. Oh, then I didn't even mention, why isn't Metroid on here? Metroid Prime Fusion. Every video game released exclusively to the Nintendo Switch 2 full list. Metroid Prime 4, right? That's what we got. I don't see it here. I did get the Metroid Prime Remastered, because I never played any of those Prime games. So I got Metroid Prime Remastered. Pretty solid game. Enjoying that a lot. So I was looking forward to Metroid Prime 4, but I don't know. People weren't loving that. Didn't get great reviews. So, but we got some things to look forward to for sure here. Star Fox, which is Star Fox 64 remastered, essentially, I think. Yes, this is Star Fox 64 again, but at its most beautiful, with new challenges, difficulty, multiplayer options, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, we're getting a new Star Fox game. Very much looking forward to the Star Fox game. That I will get. You got, I'll go into that one in a little bit. Splatoon Raiders, Duskblood, and then obviously The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, which I never really played that one either. I know, pretty sad state of affairs that I never played. I don't remember playing Ocarina of Time, but I'm looking forward to that one as well. So you got some big games on the horizon coming up here. And then I want to talk about Final Fantasy Remake. So I played and beat Final Fantasy Remake Intergrade, whatever, on my computer. Almost got a PlayStation just for that back in the day, but didn't. But when I finally did get a chance to play Final Fantasy Remake, I loved it. It was great. It's not perfect, but I enjoyed it very much and beat it, and then started playing it again. And then when I got my Switch 2, I'm like, I gotta get this on the Switch 2. So I did, and now I'm replaying Final Fantasy Remake again on my Switch. And recently they just dropped Final Fantasy Rebirth, and I haven't seen too much about it for the Switch 2, but it looks like it's running well enough, and people are just saying how amazing it is. What a feat of technological marvel that it is to get a game like that working on the Switch 2. And that's using like AI and stuff like that. Yeah, NVIDIA DLSS upscaling is really the trick that makes this thing work so well, and Rebirth runs so well on the Switch 2. But it's great, and I don't care about all that. I just want the game to look good and run well, and it does for Remake Intergrade, and it looks like it's going to be suitable for Rebirth. So I haven't played Rebirth yet. I'm looking forward to buying that and playing that on the Switch 2 after I complete the Remake one more time. Not that you guys care about any of this. I know you don't care about any of this, but I'm just saying that, the Final Fantasy games being playable on this system is really great. It's amazing. But that leads me into the other issue people have with the system, and I do as well, and it's the key cards. So most games on the Switch 2 are just key cards. And so that means that essentially the game, it's not on that card. It's just a ticket to download the game and store it on your system. And it'll allow you to, in the case that you want to sell the game, you'll be able to, you'll be able to sell it like any other game that you have. And then that person will be able to download the game to their system and play it. But it just sucks. Coming from a gamer who grew up with Nintendo and Genesis and Super Nintendo and PlayStation and N64 and all those systems, where when you went and bought the game, it was on that physical cartridge or disc. It just really is a sad time. I want my full game on this medium so that I can pop it in and it's there, and I know I can have the full game on this object. And that's not how things are anymore. And it's due to the fact that, well, for the most part, it's the limitations of the Switch card's memory. And I think it's 65 gigs are the maximum. Like, that's how much you can store on one of these things. And most of these modern games are larger than that, so you can't do it. But even with some smaller games, I think they're still going with key cards. And there are some games that are just barely over the 65 gig limit. And that just sucks, man. I don't know. I think Final Fantasy Remake is one of those games. Let me just check here. Well, Rebirth is 159 gigs on Steam. I downloaded Rebirth on Steam. I bought it and got it and never played it, but that's 160 gigs, so there's that. Remake is 94 gigs. I forget the game that was like slightly over that number, but whatever. Yeah, it sucks. And I kind of said to myself, I'm not gonna buy any Switch 2 games that are key cards. And sure enough, I broke that. I broke that rule, and I went and I got Final Fantasy Remake. I also bought, I got the Resident Evil Generation Pack, which I thought was pretty good deal. Pull the trigger on that. And I got Madden 26, which I'll talk about in a second. NBA 2K26, and obviously Final Fantasy Remake Intergrade. So I did end up biting the bullet and getting some Switch 2 games that don't have the actual game on the damn thing, but it's nice to have this. At least I have something, it makes the experience feel a little bit more legit that I have, something. But people will say, who cares? People will defend it till the cows come home. Whatever. I personally am, hurt by it. It's a sad thing. I love having my games on I know it's been going on forever. I know that, but it just sucks, So now I'll speak on, the sports games, because I like sports games. I'm a sports fan. I like football and basketball and golf and stuff. So the two sports games that I got on the system, NBA 2K26 runs well enough. There are some loading scenes that really, even when you're like, the system is slotted into the dock and you're running at full power, I know it's a loading screen, but it really struggles. It really chugs along sometimes at the loading screens. And then Madden 26 plays well enough, but it just doesn't feel great. There's some really choppy moments, and you can just tell that this thing is not optimized well for the system. I'm hoping Madden 27 runs better. It's always been the case with Nintendo and the Switch 1 and now the Switch 2, that these games barely run like they should on the system. Better now than it's ever been before, for sure, but it was always that was always the thing with the Switch 1. Playing sports games like NBA and whatever, Madden and shit. Could you play Madden? I don't remember. But sports games on Nintendo was like, nah, you don't want to do that. Stay away from it. But they're getting better, and I think that the next line, 2K27 and Madden 27 will be better optimized for this thing, but not ideal. So yeah, hopefully it will get better as time goes on for the sports games on the Switch. And going back to earlier, how I said it's great for the Switch, it's a great experience with the Switch 2 that I can just put the system to sleep and jump back into a game. But any game that requires you to be connected to the internet, it just doesn't work. So yeah, Street Fighter 6, for example, I bought that. I have it on both my PC and I got it on the Switch, and it runs very well on the Switch. It looks great on the Switch in handheld, and obviously when you dock it and stuff. But it requires you to be online constantly. And you don't have to be. You can disconnect from online and play some, arcade or training or whatever. But it's any of these games that require you to be, obviously, right? But I didn't think about that when I was thinking about sports games on the Switch. Like, oh, it'd be so great for Madden or whatever, or NBA 2K. Like, if I'm in a game, I can just put the thing to sleep and go back in. But that's not the case. If for like NBA 2K26, for example, if I'm in a game, like I do a created player, and I like to feel like I'm on the team and stuff like that, and go through a season. But if I'm in the middle of a game and I put the system to sleep, you can't just go back into it. You get kicked out of that session. So for sports games, it just doesn't work, or any game really that requires you to be any multiplayer heavy game where you have to be connected to the internet. I could go on and on about this thing, but ultimately this is my primary way of gaming now. This is it. I'm just more going back to the console experience where the games and the thing just works. I don't have to worry about with like the Ally and the Legion Go. You gotta make sure everything's up to date and download drivers, and it's just, you gotta tweak game settings to get it to run right and shit like that. I'm just at this point in my life, I just want to be able to play my game, man. I'm done with all that shit. I just want to be able to fire my shit up and play. And with this, that's what you get. There is no better option for handheld gaming than this. This wins. Nintendo wins in terms of handheld experience, as it's always been. It's not like a PlayStation 5 in terms of what it can produce graphically and its hardware, and the Xbox Series X or whatever. But for someone like myself who doesn't need state-of-the-art like graphics and everything, this is perfect, man. I just cannot stress to you enough how this wins for me. I love the Switch 2. I know there are people that just are not like overly thrilled with it or whatever, but for me, it's just excellent. Just the whole thing, top to bottom, is excellent. The smaller things like the placement of the thumbstick and the fact that you really need grips on it. They sell other things now like attachable Joy-Cons, that aftermarket Joy-Cons. I forget what it's called. Expensive though, man. These aftermarket Joy-Cons that you attach that have like proper grips on them and rumble and shit like that, they're like $120, $130. So yeah, but ultimately for a $450 console, you can't really go wrong. I mean, everybody was flipping out and up in arms about the price of this thing when it first dropped, but look at what PlayStation just did now. If you want a PS5 Pro, which I was thinking about getting and I decided not to before it jumped in price, it's like $900+ with tax and everything now to get a PS Pro. Yeah, I'm gonna wait for the new PS6 to come out. I would like to get back into the PlayStation ecosphere. I got my Vita, I got my PS2. It's been a long time since I've had PlayStation in my life, and I am very much looking forward to the PlayStation 6. However, the Xbox, the next gen Xbox, which is probably going to be like a tower PC almost, and then you got the Steam Cube or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of options out there right now. There's a lot of things you could do, but I'm good right now. I'm good with what I have. I'm very much happy with my Switch 2, and I'm going to be selling my ROG Allies and maybe my Lenovo Legion Go. I don't know. I wouldn't even consider it, but now all of a sudden out of nowhere the thing just turns off on me. I think it's an overheating issue. Maybe it needs to be cleaned out, the dust or whatever. I gotta, rip that thing open and dust it out. But so I'm sure I'm forgetting something that I really wanted to talk about. I can't remember everything. I didn't write down talking points and shit. It was just improvised, just spur of the moment video that I wanted to try and get done before too much time has passed since its anniversary. And yeah, loving the Switch 2. I'm sure I'll jump all over its upgraded version next year or the year after, whenever that comes out, with a proper OLED screen, maybe even a bigger screen on it. It's a little underpowered, but with NVIDIA DLSS and the AI upscaling and all that stuff, they're gonna get a lot of miles out of this system, and it's been great. I love it. I endorse it. I was thinking about making a video, and I may even still do it, where I am very much on the fence, but very close to declaring Nintendo as the winner overall in terms of like gaming experience. I'm very close to deciding. It's hard, right? It's like there's so many options, and you got the Steam, you got Xbox, you got PlayStation, you got Nintendo, Epic Games. There's so many different ways to access video games. You got PC, but I'm very close to declaring the Nintendo brand as being the winner in the gaming space, just as far as like its exclusive games and the quality of those games, the third-party game accessibility, and just the overall experience. You know, Nintendo's been with us for, well, for me, almost my whole life. I mean, 40 something years I've had Nintendo. They have survived forever. They survived the console wars. They outlasted Sega. They hung tough next to Sony PlayStation, and you know, that says so much that Nintendo has been able to survive all these years and all the different ways to play video games with them through the Game Boy and the GameCube and the N64 and the 3DS, and there's just so many. They just know what they're doing when it comes to games, man. I don't know. I'm a big fan of Nintendo. I always have been, but I'm not a diehard Nintendo. I'm not watching every direct, and you know, like some people are really like diehard Nintendo fanatics and they watch every direct. You know, I watch my directs and stuff, but like I'm not like sitting up at the crack of dawn in the morning waiting for a Nintendo direct to come out. Like, you know, I'll find out what happened, you know. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it, guys. I'm sure I'm missing something, but I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't purchased a Nintendo Switch 2, I would do it now before the potential. There are always rumors of a price increase. We got some cool games coming, and really, I don't just think of the Switch 2 exclusives. I think about the entire ecosphere of Nintendo Switch. All the games that are available, you know, you pretty much have a Nintendo Switch 1 and Switch 2 combined. So I don't just think of it as the Switch 2 exclusive games. I think of it as being able to play all the Switch 1 games. Some of them have been like enhanced or whatever for the Switch 2. You know, I have a huge library, well, not a huge library, but a nice little library of Switch games, and it's growing all the time. There's just a ton of things to, it's just great, just for all ages, adults and kids, and you know, Mario Party, and you want to have people come over, you can throw on Mario Party or Mario Kart, and it's just a great thing to experience. So I'm loving Nintendo. I'm loving the Switch 2. I hope you guys are too. If you don't have one, you should probably grab one now. And that'll do it for this one, guys. We will be back soon with more videos, more games to play on Double Dragon Gaming. Peace out.